It is the Riot Podcast. This is the Tuesday, September 19th edition of the show. We're still in the midst of the fall fundraiser as of this recording. And even if you're listening months down the road, RadioU can always use your support at RadioU.com or in the RadioU app. The donate button is always there. Now, today, we're recovering. Mostly Isaiah is recovering because last night was a tough night for you. You stayed up to watch the Browns and Steelers. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. The Browns lost, first of all, but it wasn't just that they lost. They also lost Nick Chubbs, star running back, probably for the year with a horrific knee injury.
Yeah, that was like the saddest thing I've ever seen. I've been through a lot of sad moments as a Browns fan. Mm-hmm. And you know what the wildest thing is, too, is right after he got hurt, right? So he got hit in the knee. Pretty much blew up his entire knee. They couldn't even show it on television. Yeah. We scored the very next play. Uh-huh. And it was I looked at everyone in the room. I said, that's the least excited I've ever been for a Browns touchdown, especially because we were losing at that point and we had just taken the lead again.
Yeah. You would think that would have been a joyous moment.
It's the least excited I've ever been during a Browns game for a touchdown. And it was the least excited. And there was no point in that game after that play where there was any joy in that game for me.
The wind was just taken out of your sails.
It was completely, it literally felt like the game just didn't even matter at that point.
I can say that I understand how it feels because I just went through the same exact thing 1 week ago. It wasn't actually exact because when Aaron Rodgers went out, it was like, it wasn't a horrific injury. There was like, oh, maybe he'll come back in the game. Yep. Or maybe he'll just be out a few weeks. And then as time went on, you kind of had, ease yourself into, oh, this is really bad. Or for Nick Chubb, it was instant. Like, and then they said, we can't show the replay because the injury is so bad. And then you look up the replay online to see how bad it was. It's not happening for him, not this year. And so you definitely wish him a speedy recovery. But as a Browns fan now, rate your level of despair for the season.
See, it's
10 is like tank for Caleb Williams, and 1 is we can still win the Super Bowl.
Well, the hard part is after that play, once he got hurt, I was like, wow. The crappy part is for the rest of the season, I'm going to watch every game and every quarter and the whole game of every game, and I'm going to cheer. I'm going to be hopeful that we can win. But I just know that Nick Chubb injury, what that just set me up for the next 4 months, which typically for Browns, in the past for Browns, is not a good thing. And I remember back to last year, the second game of the season, because if we lost to the Steelers last night, that's one thing. If we lose to the Steelers, I would not come into today and even blink an eye. The defense looked incredible. The offense looked terrible. But you know what? There had been a lot of good takeaways from the game that I would have said, you know what? I don't care that we lost to the Steelers. Whatever, they have our number anyway. We haven't won in Pittsburgh for 20 years. If we lose to them, that doesn't mean the season's over. Bengals fans are still convincing themselves they're going to make the playoffs and they're 0-2. And if you ask any Bengals fan or Browns fan which one you'd rather be, they would say I would rather be a Bengals fan. And if right now, I would say I have more hope for the Bengals than I do for the Browns making the playoffs, even though we have one more win and we just beat them. But the tough part is, for this whole thing, is Deshaun Watson has looked absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
The first 2 games of the season. Do I think we can still make the playoffs? Yes. And people would say, oh, it's only the second game. But if you go back to last season, we started off 1-0. And we had a very similar game that we did last night. I was just having flashbacks where we thought we were going to win. Something terrible happened, like the Nick Chubb injury. And then the season derailed from there. That was the New York Jets game, where we lost in a matter of 2 minutes. They scored 14 points in an unbelievable way. And people said, oh, that didn't have an effect on the rest of the season. It absolutely did. The win was taken from their sails. And last night, the Browns, after Nick Chubb got hurt, they looked like a team who just watched their dog get shot in front of them. They went out on the field, and it was completely different once he left the game. If we beat the Titans this Sunday and we bounce back, I will be right back on the we can make the playoffs train. But until I see us beat the Titans this upcoming Sunday, I have no expectation for what could happen. I would not be surprised if we didn't win another game the rest of the season. I wouldn't be surprised if we won 12 games this season. I have no expectations for this team because without Nick Chubb on this football team, I don't know what this Cleveland Browns team will even be.
The wild roller coaster ride that we go on every season. At least it has some ups and downs where this year, if you're a Cardinals fan, it's just all down. So
Like, I can have hope.
It could be worse.
It could be. You know,
Yeah.
and you know what everybody says? Everybody says running backs don't matter. Why are we even paying them? Running backs matter. You saw it last night. They matter. Nick Chubb to this team, not every team. Kansas City, they don't need a running back. Josh Allen, the Buffalo Bills, they don't need a running back. The Browns, thus far, for the past 5 years, need a running back. The Tennessee Titans need a running back. There's certain teams that need a running back, and we're one of them. Maybe we won't be with Deshaun Watson, but what I saw last night, that wasn't Deshaun Watson. That was like, I mean, we might as well have Kenny Pickett playing himself. I mean, it was abysmal for both sides. Quarterback play was terrible. It was a tough game to watch and a tough game to lose. Hate losing the Steelers, but that's how it goes as a Browns fan.
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
Let's move on to something a little happier, like marriage.
We love marriage.
Yeah, we're big marriage proponents here on the Riot. And I don't know if you've seen on TikTok this one video going around where a gal, her name is Isabel Brown. She is engaged, and she has gone viral for basically saying that the best husband you can have is a nerd. She thinks nerds make the best husbands.
You happy about that?
Why would I be?
Oh, no reason.
Do you consider yourself a nerd?
I don't really think that I don't think that I would be considered a nerd. I don't think there's anything wrong.
I guess it doesn't matter if you consider yourself a nerd. It's more of other people.
Yeah, I don't think that nerds would allow me to be a nerd. Like if I like tried to self-claim like, oh, I'm a nerd.
Yeah.
Other nerds that are like proud of being a nerd would be like, you're no nerd. You're not a nerd. Are you crazy?
Would you consider your brother a nerd?
Jaden, I would consider a nerd. Yeah. He's nerdy, but also he's nerdy. But to nerds, I think he'd be a little bit too cool. But for my standards, he's a nerd. Yeah.
Do you think he'd make a good husband?
My brother? Yeah, I think so. I think he would. But he's got an in-betweener. He's not full-on nerd.
Yeah. Maybe
So
that is the ideal.
I think, I don't know. I agree.
Before we fully dive into the idea that a nerd makes the best husband, I would like to propose that really every man is a nerd. And it's just what you're a nerd about. Because for us, we're nerds about like football.
Yeah.
Which isn't a nerdy thing. But we could be nerds. We could just as easily be nerds about Harry Potter, and then we'd be nerds. We'd be nerds. But we're not. We're like football nerds.
I like Harry Potter.
Sports nerds. Oh, it sounds like one of us might be a little bit of a nerd.
Whoa. What was that?
And it's not the one wearing the Space Ghost shirt. But her thoughts is, I don't know if she has really well thought out thoughts. She's not even married yet, so I don't know how she knows. But some of the arguments here say that, like one guy, he says it's because nerds spend their life on the outside looking in, seeing all the jocks and the cool guys get all the girls and mess things up. And so nerds get to observe all the mistakes that they make and then not make them. I don't think that's it. What do you think about that theory?
That's a wild. It's even hard to wrap your head around.
Yeah.
I don't know about that theory either. On the outside looking in, they finally get in.
I have a different theory.
I have a theory too.
Okay, what's your theory?
You mean to go first? Or
Yeah,
you
you go.
Okay, my theory is I don't know if nerds make the best husbands, and I'll give you the reason why. And it is because guys that are not nerdy, have been also
cool.
I guess just there's nerds.
Some might say
normal. Not that nerds aren't normal. Yet again, I want to phrase.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with being a nerd.
No, there's not.
My brother's a nerd. I pick on him all the time. It's hilarious. But the other thing is everybody in their life has been picked on, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's been picked on.
I think so.
Everybody's been picked on in some way. But the people that have been maybe a little bit nerdier have gotten a little bit rougher, right? And they have a hatred towards it. They have a hatred towards bullies, where I think if maybe you weren't as nerdy, maybe you didn't have such a hatred towards it. It was more of like a jokey joke thing. But I think that if you get in a relationship with a nerd, it's more likely, when I think of nerds in my head, it's more likely that they're like a very like logical, yes, no, not a jokety person. So if you would like someone who's not so jokety, that could be the way to
jokety?
go. So jokety.
Yeah.
See, I'm a jokester. I like
the problem
to joke
with
around.
you is, and possibly me, is that we're too jokey.
I think some people might think we're a little bit too jokey.
We're not nerdy enough. We're just too jokey.
We're too jokety.
We're too funny.
We're too jokety, and we joke around too much. But if you want a little more serious lifestyle, I feel like the more the nerd style, which I hate even saying the word nerd. It feels so derogatory.
Yeah.
The more the nerd style.
We're talking about why nerds potentially is actually a positive.
I know, but I'm dissing on
in
them
the
right
eyes
now.
of women, it seems. At least this woman.
I just think it's
and a lot
more,
in the comments.
More maybe logical thinkers. Maybe their life is a little bit more serious. And so for me, that wouldn't be my premier relationship. But for somebody, that could be for them.
I think... Here's my hypothesis. One, I guess I don't know if nerds make better husbands or not. I can't speak to that. But what I can say is if they make better husbands, here's why it might be. One, because they're on the outside looking in and have less of a choice when it comes to women. You know, like if you're a cool guy, then you should, well, you're dating this one girl now, but there's other girls interested, so you've got options. Where a nerd, he gets a gal, and maybe he's thinking, I can't let this one go. And so he pulls out all the stops to make her happy. Possibly. One hypothesis
that for sure
I have.
Happens.
Yeah.
Because then, but this is what'll happen, right? You'll get the nerdy guy who's willing to do anything, and then there's these women, they're like, he's clingy. He's all over me.
Yeah,
he's everything they ask. He's everything they ask for, but at the same time, they're like, he's too much. He likes me way too much.
The second hypothesis, and they aren't necessarily, they could go hand in hand, is that nerds, like they are who they are. If you're a cool guy, you might be kind of seen as you change with the times. You try to, you're a follower in a sense. Where nerds, they like what they like. They do what they want to do. They're also, but maybe that also comes with being very principled,
very genuine.
Like you're not gonna change who you are just to make somebody else happy, and that's actually seems to be a positive trait in a relationship. I would say you're principled, you do what you think is right, logical, like you said.
Yes, that's true. That could be a positive to being a little bit logical.
I think if you're a gal in a relationship with a nerd, I think that would be a big positive. Is that he, you know what he stands for, you know who he is, and he's gonna be that way.
Either you like him or you don't. But if you like him, then you like his true self. Where other people might be more likely to be fake.
There could be things hidden beneath the surface. Nerds are wearing who they are on their sleeve. So, they're literally dressed up in a costume of it. So
we've got nerds, which we've established that I don't think either of us would consider ourselves nerds.
No, I don't think so. But I don't know. That's up to interpretation.
And then we've got the whatever category that you'd like to place me in, right? Probably like just average. I'm just like an average show. And then you, I don't know where in this whole breakdown.
I know.
Where do you homeschoolers come in?
If there was a Venn diagram of the different cliques you could be a part of, I feel like I have a foot in every.
You do. You've got a toe in every.
Yeah, I do.
You got
all 10 toes. They're all divided. There's the sport section, the nerd section, the Swiftie section. I'm just everywhere. I'm everywhere. I'm all over the place.
You're like kind of country, but kind of city boy. You got like a pinky in each of those. Oh, you're so spread out. You can't really know. You're kind of dangerous.
I am kind of dangerous because you never know. You never know what you're going to get.
That sounds you sound kind of fake to me. I'm not really sure how Angela puts up with all that. I am not sure.
Well, I've made a good enough husband this far anyways.
So how about this, though? Would you consider dating someone, maybe a girly nerd? You think that's your style?
What is she nerdy about?
Just like, I don't know, like whatever you want her to be. Harry Potter, books. Maybe she's artsy, too. I don't know. Does being artsy make you a nerd, possibly?
I think that's different.
Think it's a different category?
Yeah.
I guess it does. I feel like most girls are probably artsy. So.
I don't know. I don't consider I just don't think we would have similar interests. If I'm picturing a nerdy woman in my mind, I think our interests would not be the same. And so I don't know if that would be, but I mean, sometimes you don't have to be interested in the exact same things, but if she's super into Harry Potter or Star Wars or
Marvel.
Doctor
we both
Who.
like Marvel.
We do like Marvel, but that's so mainstream at this point.
It's not everybody nerds like look down upon people who just like Marvel and consider themselves nerdy.
That's right. If we don't read the comics.
Yeah, true.
And I even feel like I have a working knowledge of some of the comics, but yeah, it's not the same level. Real nerds would not allow me in for a discussion.
Yeah, and I'd like to, you know what's crazy too? It sounded so derogatory this whole time about nerds, but I want to be one of them. When it comes to Marvel, I want to be in on it. I want to know the things you know. But they won't let me in. I am on the outside.
Well, you got to read the comics.
I am on the outside, and I'm feeling as if I am how many of the nerds felt their whole life. I want to be in. They won't let me in. I'm on the outside looking in.
You gotta get a subscription to Marvel Comics Unlimited, and
I am the one being bullied.
That's where you start. But
I am the victim. I finally my time to play the victim card. I've been waiting for this.
You want a seat at the nerd table, and they won't let me.
They won't let me come. And like, do you think a nerd? Number one, we talked about would we want to date a nerdy girl? Nerdy girls will want nothing to do with us.
No,
they'd be like, he's no nerd.
If you're not gonna come to a cosplay at Dragon Con with me, then like this is the girl talking. If you're not going to come cosplay at Dragon Con with me, then I'm not interested.
Literally. And you know what? I'd come.
You would?
What
would you cosplay as?
I don't know. I don't know any of the characters exactly. I wouldn't be allowed to come.
No, you could be any character. You could be Freddy Krueger.
So I can just dress. So it's just Halloween then. It sounds like Halloween to me.
It could be Freddy Krueger. It could be... You could be...
It's gotta be Scooby-Doo.
Casper the Ghost.
I know a lot about Scooby-Doo.
Scooby-Doo. You could be Scooby-Doo. Don't you have a Scooby-Doo costume?
I do. I have a mascot costume.
Yeah, it could be Charlie Brown.
See, this sounds like Halloween. This isn't cosplay. This sounds like Halloween.
You could be Mega Man. That's not Halloween.
When I search cosplay, they're all dressed up as people that I don't recognize. Oh, here's Velma. I found Velma.
Velma, there you go. You dress up as Velma.
She's on here, I guess. Who else is on here? I don't recognize any of these characters.
Somebody from One Piece, probably. You could do that. Hot on Netflix right now.
I'm not even familiar. See, they won't let me in.
Yeah, that's anime.
She won't want anything to do with me.
You'll never stand a chance.
I'm not winning in any category here.
No.
I know I'm not.
All right. Well, we've covered a lot from Nick Chubb to nerddom and the fall fundraiser as well. RadioU. Go donate at RadioU.com. We'll catch you next time.
See you guys.